Here we are just figuring this out and turning the camera around, but look, there it was. We are grabbing this notebook for our weekly circle. Welcome for those of you who are new. Thank you everyone for joining us whenever you are checking this out. Heartily, we are grateful. Look at those beautiful, beautiful books. We have Barbara Mendez and Sark you saw flip by there. So many more brilliant artists and friends, and we're coming around to our table. And so yeah, this Tuesday circle, we meet every Tuesday. So you are welcome whenever you are able to make it and feel like that is something that you want to do. And you are welcome to leave in the middle, right now, whenever the F you want. And if you are not into profanity, then, well, this circle may not be for you. While I'm here, I may share just some disclaimers. I am not a doctor, lawyer, therapist. I am a fortune teller. So what I share is no substitute for their services. Furthermore, what I share does not determine your future, only your intentions and actions do. So please use your gifts of discernment before deciding what to gather and take away. And of course, take only what resonates and blow like a kiss the rest to the universe for cosmic composting into beauty. And this reading is intended for fun and games, for shits and giggles, for flexing our body, heart, mind, soul, spirit, intuition, emotions. Soul, did I miss something? Spirit, please fill in the comments. And at the least, I hope to cause harm to none, and at the most, I hope I may assist you on your healing path. So all that being said, you know, everybody's a different psychosocial science experiment, and what resonates for you may not resonate for me, and vice versa. So I just invite you to keep exploring for yourself to make this circle more meaningful for you. And again, the circle is for helping you play your cards. You're already playing your cards, so bravo. You've already been doing it. Awesome. And so we're here just, you know, a weekly meeting to troubleshoot what's working, what's not. What are you going to do? What are, I don't know, XYZ, PDQ going to do? Just some basic, simple troubleshooting on a T-chart, right? What's working, what's not. You can take a piece of paper and put a cross on it. Just draw a line horizontal and a line vertical. You don't have to assign any sort of symbol to it unless you appreciate that. Pardon me. And then what's working, what's not, in these two quadrants perhaps, and what are you going to do, and what is XYZ PDQ going to do, and these two quadrants perhaps, and you might date it. You might assign a certain overview to it. You might include at the bottom your particular standards. So this is really fine-tuned to you. And if something you hear doesn't resonate, but there's other pieces that do, just take bits and pieces, what works for you, right? That's what this is all about. Helping you play your cards through the loss and trauma to adopt success for life worth living as you and life keep changing here, there, and beyond. Right, so that loss and trauma is so challenging that we have this game to play through it, playing our cards. And I began to play with intent in the year 2000, and on one of the cards I wrote a dream that I had given up on in elementary school, and that dream was, I am an artist. And I gave up on it because I thought, you know, it appeared from what I had seen in the books and museums and everywhere else you see art, it appeared to me you needed to be dead to be a successful artist. So, well, I gave up on that. Fast forward to 2012, and I was invited to participate in the first USA Female Romani Art, Culture, and History exhibit by Voice of Roma and the Petaluma Historical Museum in Petaluma, California in 2012, between International Women's Day and International Roma Day on April 8th. And dreams come true beyond belief. So I'm just sharing my cards with you, and you can take bits and pieces as you want. And so we are just flipping through one of my notebooks that has some of my cards, and you can see what's going on here, right? These are expanded versions of cards, right? This, you recognize this? It's legislation. They are expanded versions of cards. And let's see here. These are some of the laws in place for fortune telling. Aren't we all fortune tellers? Aren't we all fortune tellers? Parents, teachers, weather people, you fill in the blank. So when we talk about playing our cards, you can see, you know, you can think of actual cards in one way, and then you can think of them in expanded ways. Like you can think of an actual card deck. Where is my card deck? Let me just pick out one. So in here, I keep, you know, cards. We can make our own cards. Look, I turned these into my cards, sharing with others, adopting other people's cards. So all that to say, we're going through one of my notebooks of cards, different variations, to offer you some ideas with what's working, what's not working, just to enhance or troubleshoot. And you can come back to any of these at any time, right? And I appreciate you taking the time to sit beside me like this. I hope you can see what's going on, and you can appreciate the angle and the lighting. Oh my. Let's see here. Okay, so let me see if I can do something about the lighting, because I see that's an issue. Issue. Oops. Oh my. Well, that was fun. Thank you for being patient with us. We are a one-woman show. All right, that didn't help. That did not help. Ah, that's sort of better. I wonder what that extra piece is. So, as I said, I began playing these cards in the year 2000. I began playing in earnest. Maybe I said that, maybe I didn't. Part of my job is to repeat myself like a happy broken record. So, these are some of my cards trying to explain that process. And, you know, maybe you can relate. Perhaps. And, you get to make your own set. Oh, you know, there's a lot going on there. That's a whole booklet. But not today. And so before we go any further, sort of like we're all fortune tellers and folk artists, we're all teachers. And if you could pick your teaching personality from TV, I hesitate when I use the word personality. If you could pick your teaching style from TV characters, people you see in the movies or in the media. Who would it be? So here's mine. I'm like a mix of Columbo and Miss Congeniality. That's my teaching style. So that's something fun to think about as you are playing your cards, because we are all teachers and you are leading yourself, so you can have fun teaching yourself and finding your own teaching style. And if you choose to share that with others, awesome. We all have a universal passport, life, and we need this dream space time, so this assists us in that. This is something that you may imagine this in different schools. There's different versions of this, how to play your cards for life worth living. And so this is just another variation. So to start, your toolbox, you put your cards in a toolbox like you saw me bring out a box. Be born. And then adopt yourself all lifelong. Keep tracking down your village, but first assign daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, to check in with self and others before the others. With self before the others. I think I flipped that back and forth enough times for you to read that yourself. I'm not sure I read it correctly, but you get the gist. Like, all you got to do to play your cards is be born. You've been doing it. Like, you're a professional at this already. If you're tuning in now, you've already been playing for at least 10 years, right? At least 10,000 hours you've been playing your cards. So this is just a different way to look at playing your cards. And you may have, each year there may be different totems that you can look back at and identify and look right now and see and look into the future and envision, and different tarot, your I am statements for each year, from the year that you started to the year now, all the I am statements, all the I am statements. And if you can't think of positive I am statements about yourself, you may start in pencil with the negative. And I emphasize pencil because, not everything's written in stone. And sometimes that's where we need to start, is with that loss and that negative, and to honor that. You may do that here as well in that manner. And then when the positive comes to you eventually, as it seems to do, glory be, you can put that on the other side of that card, all beautiful in ink or watercolor, however you want to paint that out so beautifully. So your totems each year of your life, your tarot, they can all amount to cards or different versions of cards. And your operating instructions, you can play with that. Also in your toolbox, you can keep love letters from all of your different people. And then you can come to this toolbox 24/7 to help you move through the loss that pops up, big and small. And you can also dream weave. You can honor all of that. And then here's guide 1. And, of course, this isn't written in stone. This is just something for you to play with and make your own. And you see, I think I was intending to draw a rock cairn, but there's birth, baby years, play years, school years, adolescence, early adult, mid-adult, late adult. Those are our phases of life. And this baby may also be baby toddler. And play years is before you jump into school, whether you jump into school at preschool or kindergarten or first grade. In adolescence, I would say a fair span is 14 to 35. If we allow adolescents an extra 10 to 12 years to recover from everything they experienced, all the loss they experienced before 18. Not to restrict them of their brilliance or beauty. They're just amazing, and I just want to offer them more space to develop into their brilliance. So maybe offering that apprenticeship into 35, early adult, middle adult, late adult. But of course, you get to adapt this to fit for you. And then your Western intelligences, you can look into Howard Gardner. Howard Gardner is an educational theorist and talked about multiple intelligences. And it's just occurring to me, if I'm saying something in here that occurs incorrect to you, please leave a comment and allow me to correct myself, because it's distinctly possible I might have misspoke. And so I'll just clarify that now and invite that, and also any questions you have. And if you want clarification, you can leave that in the comments. And so body, visual, body also is kinesthetic. Visual is also spatial. Logical is also rational. Musical and nature, naturalist. This is the first intelligence to develop, some may say. And so this is why it's so easy for us to lean into those aspects, especially when we're feeling the loss and we're trying to play through the loss. And also when we're celebrating all ends of the spectrum, it's really, it seems perhaps easier to slip into the music and the nature than perhaps these other spaces for us, because we've been playing that the longest. That intelligence is the first to develop, some say. And then interpersonal, intrapersonal, we could split those into two separate cards. There are other theorists who have come along and added more to those or taken away from those, of course, so, play with this, make it your own. Existential intelligence, how to be happy about life when you know you're going to die. Sums up existentialism in a way. And maybe you can guess which time period in our modern history that philosophy came about. And then we have verbal linguistic. So those are your Western intelligences. And you can imagine a totem with multiple sides. And so perhaps on one side, you're able to list these Western intelligences. And then on another side, or somehow integrated, you add those phases of life that we talked about, those spans of life that we talked about. And you could take it a step further. The card, I think it's tucked away somewhere else, but there is a matching card for this, the Eastern intelligences. So these are the Western intelligences, and I say that because they came from Howard Gardner, a Western educational theorist. And I just offer that the Eastern intelligences may be the chakra system, the 7 chakras. So we have 7 intelligences in the Western sphere, and then the 7 chakras. Of course, there's more than that, but the 7 main chakras, and then the 7 spans of life. So you can play with that for your totem cards, and you can go as far to create art pieces about it, or maybe just create 21 separate cards for each of these and flesh them out. And again, those tarot are your I am statements. And so those are some of the basics of playing your cards. And maybe they already brought to your awareness some places. Oh yeah, that's something that might help in this area where I was stuck. And so here's some of the reasons we began playing our cards. To transmute the violence, to adopt success for one and all, and transmute the violence cycles into love. And, it's something we can keep coming back to as you and life keep changing. When and how are you safe? When and how are you secure? And you can lean into these cards. Maybe this is a weekly practice for you, that you pull out your cards and you shuffle through them and play through them. Maybe it's a daily practice. Maybe it's a moonly practice. Maybe it's a quarterly practice. But you can keep coming back to and developing these aspects of your it's like an individual, professional, and personal development plan. If I said treatment for life, I would be treading on the territory of doctors, and I'm not a doctor yet. I'm working on my free PhD. My free PhD, and there's so many different ways I would call it, but adoption, my free PhD in adoption, my free PhD in tolerance, my free PhD in free will, life worth living, education literacy, so many different ways to call it. And of course, no institution has, I'm not going to an institution to support this. This is just my own game, playing around. Like, come on, aren't we all earning our own free PhD in tolerance and whatever else you can fill in the blank? So your homework this first week, if you are new, and if you are not, maybe to create and review your cards. Create and or review your cards. So to start your stack, literally start your stack. There's some magic to writing things down. There's a book called Write It Down, Make It Happen by Henriette Ann Clouser, and that may inform your practice and add to the mix. And any of these cards that you've seen, you can take and adapt for yourself. This when and how are you safe card, it's, if you recognize that maybe from our monetary system, and you recognize this, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's so many different versions now of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so you can look at the different variations and then come up with your own and fill in what you think, you know, for you, the basic needs that are so important. And then what it takes for you to get to the actualization, your pinnacle, your peak, what you're here on this planet for, however you decide you want to convey that. And something interesting to know that in this, you know, these basic needs like belonging, this is especially important. This is why we adopt, right? Because the belonging is so important and success is hinged on it. Shelter, this is why we adopt. This shelter is so important. Success is hinged on it. Food, clothing, you know, all the different basic needs. And the need to know, like education, it's like way up here. So we wonder how come so many get left behind. It's, I think, that forgotten bit. So perhaps that's helpful in unblocking or just affirming your process and your progress. Like, hey, you know, sometimes, you know, we get up to this point where we've got all of these basic needs in position, and sometimes, you know, oh, some of those fall away and we get knocked down a little bit, but we can keep climbing back up and keep going up. But you can check out your own and make your own safety card. Your own Western intelligence card. You can match that with the Eastern intelligences, the chakras, that is, for your Muladhara chakra, that's your root chakra, your Svadhisthana chakra, that's your sacral chakra, your Manipura chakra, that is your belly chakra, your Anahata chakra, that is your heart chakra, your Visuddha chakra, that is your throat chakra, your Ajna chakra, that is your third eye chakra, and your Sahasrara chakra, that is your crown chakra. And as I mentioned earlier, there are more. You have chakras in your hands, your feet, there's many, many more, but just for the purpose of the totem and honoring, if you choose to play this game with these cards, that a piece of that would be the totem, and that there's different sides to this totem. It's just not a circular totem, it has sides to it, and one of those is your chakras. Another is your Western intelligences, your Eastern intelligences, your chakras, your Western intelligences, Howard Gardner's human intelligences that we showed over here, and then the spans of life. And you can make your totem, and perhaps you start making some of your tarot cards, your I am cards. Perhaps you are inspired to make your operating instructions for this year. Perhaps you're inspired to gather all your love letters. Perhaps you gather a mirror to put in this toolbox because, you know, sometimes you just want to look at yourself in the mirror. Perhaps you just want to digest this and watch this a couple times and figure out, is this something that really works, that I think might work for me? And this, you know, is based on flashcard theory. Perhaps you learned before you entered junior high school how to write a research paper and using note cards to write down the sources, and or perhaps you've used note cards to learn a language or your multiplication tables. So you can see I flipped to where I made my 7 Phases of Life card. And why did I tear that in two? So much happens in these years that I thought maybe they needed their own card. I don't think this was in a fit of rage. In this adolescence, I'd add another 10 years to really honor adolescence and all the loss that they experienced before age 18, before even age 14, and how sometimes it takes 10, 15, 20 years to recover from that. So to allow them to 35 instead of 25. But you can play around with that. So you can see I also have the Western intelligences. I actually voted one year. Oh, there's the chakras. There they came in. So you can see me playing with those 3 different items. The Western intelligences, the chakras, I played with them by color. Those of you who are more familiar may recognize, oh, there's the root chakra, the red, and there's the Manipura chakra, the yellow, the belly, the root. So this was my playing with the 3 and making a totem out of it. And then just trying to wrap my head around the chakra system and making a card for that. And including the planet, the sense associated with it, the element, the symbol, the flower, the Sanskrit name, the different gemstones, the different herbs, the different plants. Well, it looks like there are different kinds of plants, these last categories. I apologize, I'm not able to narrow it down specifically. Maybe this is more scents, and then these are the herbs and the dry herbs, the fresh herbs. I can't quite tell. But you can play with that and expand upon those cards in these ways. And then, so those times when you're like, oh my God, you're grief struck by loss, you don't know what the fuck to do, you can't even think straight, you can pull out your cards and just flip around to them a while. Maybe something's going to jump out at you. And yeah, so we're winding down our first session, and you can just see some more samples of different cards that have come through the years, playing with these notions. There's the tarot. You can write your I am statements for your dreams and your destiny. You can play with making a totem. You can play with fleshing out your toolbox and what that looks like, putting it in its proper place for you, wherever that is, and have some fun with that. So what else do I want to share with you as we wrap up our first live session on YouTube? Čačo Busin, true friend, playing our cards, what's working, what's not. Well, you know, if this resonated and you want more, I have some courses online that you can check into on my About page. And that we're wrapping up our first year. So you can test drive the course. They're for free right now, at least one of them is. And the other, if you need a sliding scale, you can access that. And that can just give you more information. And as you can see, as we're wrapping up, I'm lingering on some basic cards, like what you get out of these cards. Basically, it's a lesson plan and it's an assessment. It's your lesson plan and it's your assessment. It's your assessment of learning. It's your assessment for learning. Are you getting through your loss? Are you making your dreams come true? It's all together. Your cards. You're already doing it. You've been doing it. And so now you just can fine tune it. You can come here and troubleshoot on any Tuesday that you want. if that's something that resonates with you. And these are just some items you may gather to help with this play: calendar, dividers, compass, scissors, note card box, shoe box, 3-ring hole punch, 3-ring binder, literary resources like a thesaurus. Ugh, love a thesaurus. A ruler, a funny ruler, 8.5 by 11, 8 by 11.5 paper, 8 by 11.5 paper, envelopes, paint, paper, fabric, spray, acrylic, thin envelopes, clipboard, note cards, different colors with lines, with graphs, pens, pencils, erasers, historical resources. I mean, so that's just giving you some ideas about playing your cards and how you may expand upon your play so you don't have to think so hard. You don't know what to do, you can go to your deck of cards, you can pick a card and play with that for a while. And to really add with that, one last homework activity. I know I've given you a lot, and you just pick and choose, go at your own pace, right? You're in your own race, and there is no race, right? So all we got to do is go slow and enjoy the ride. And so you may also enjoy making up cards of all your joys. And if you can't think of your joys, again, I invite you to start with the loss, but in pencil, and to really flesh out that stack. So those times when you don't know what to do, you can turn to your own deck of cards and start flipping through and pick one to help you play through, so you can keep enjoying life on this planet, right? Like, there's so many challenges, and especially for the orphan and adoptee and the Romani and the gypsy and the you fill in the blank, right? And the need to ensure our safety, that we stay safe and sound even when perhaps the circumstances are such that, wow, freedom, it seems like freedom might be, leaving this planet, right? And so these cards help play through those times. And again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. So, be sure to check with your people. And this is not an end-all be-all. This is something that, you got to play to win. And if it sounds like something that may help you during those times and also during your dream weaving times, then awesome. And if not, that's awesome too. I just am so thrilled to be able to share this space with you all and play cards and see how you take it and run with it. And if you don't, and that's awesome too. And just being able to, all get along. So yeah, we're at the end of our session. Thank you so much for helping us breathe life into adoption spirit magic. Thank you so much for doing the amazing work that you've been doing. So many of you have been just in it, dismantling the adoption fairy tales, dismantling the gypsy myths, dismantling the patriarchy, dismantling the matriarchy, dismantling the amygdala and fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fun, however you call it. There's so many different ways to call it. Fascism, racism, you fill in the blank. But you have been doing some monumental work to dismantle those old ways of life, cycling that fight, flight, freeze, fuck, that authoritative amygdala, and summoning the adoption spirit, and that's something, dancing away from everything, that all those old ways of life, and starting a new, tremendous. And I know to say it's been challenging doesn't even begin to do it justice. So I just want to give you hugs and say thank you so much for the work you have been doing and the work that you continue to do, and building this new earth and taking such sweet care of yourself. Heartily, we are grateful. So that is all for this Tuesday circle. And thank you so much for joining us. You're welcome anytime. We'll be back next week. Ciao for now. I love you all. Keep playing your cards.